Good morning. Coffee Cup Chronicles, day 86. And here comes Clyde already. Clyde, don't you see the bear shirt? Don't feed the bears. Don't feed the bears in Allegheny State Park. Not a good thing to do. What's Allegheny State Park? Oh, it's a state park on the Pennsylvania-New York border that we started going to in the mid to late 60s. I may have done a video on this already. I don't know. I didn't start putting the cups aside right away. I have now. And boy, have I got a pile of them. But I still got a bunch more to go. But let me tell you about Allegheny State Park. Cabins, you can get them remote, where there's got no electric or anything in them, or you can get them with refrigerator and stove in, with a little potbelly wood stove so you can have heat inside. They're the old log cabin style. It was my childhood in the 60s. We started going in a pop-up tent trailer. That only worked 1 year. After that, it was cabins. Creekside number 2 was our first cabin. I've recently went about, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago. Came up from the Carolinas to go with my kids, Jennifer and Mark and their family. And Chrissy came down. And, well, she just lived like 20 miles up the road. And we stayed at Buffalo Trails. I've never seen a bear in Allegheny State Park. As much as we tried as kids, we used to go up to the garbage dumps. Back then, they open dump area. And we'd sit there with the headlights off. Dad would, you know, and if you'd hear this noise, you'd turn the headlights on. And yeah, it was a knob back then. You know, like the knob on the floor for the high beams. So anyway, Allegheny State Park, we were used to camping as boys. I mean, Boy Scouts, Shelkoff, Hawaii, Toad Hollow, Scout Haven. We used to camp every weekend in the Scouts. Troop 447 out of Depew, New York. Scoutmaster Mr. Krozak and Assistant Scoutmaster Mr. Klein. So anyway, Allegheny State Park from where I live now is 65 miles. I've gone down and driven through in the past. Would love to be able to rent a cabin down there this fall into winter. They've extended the deer season past December 10th now for bow. So I'm trying to convince a couple guys to let's go down there and camp, but in the cabin and hunt. But Allegheny State Park is just, for New Yorkers, Western New Yorkers, it was the go-to place. They have Quaker Lake down below and Red House Lake up above. There's swimming, there's fishing, there's canoeing. My Uncle Jack, 1 year, I think it was 68, came up. He came up, got here to Buffalo, picked up my grandmother, and she came down and spent the night. Oh, was that a funny story? And I got to tell you that story. So, my Uncle Jack came up from Virginia, picked up my grandmother. Next day, they came down, spent the day, and they were going to spend the night. Well, that was when the cabins were pretty primitive. So it was decided that my grandmother and my mom would sleep in the car, and us guys, Bill, Dan, and Don, my dad and my Uncle Jack would sleep in the cabin. What was so funny was, on the way down, it was so hot. Back then, Jack had an old Impala. It didn't have air conditioning, so he had the windows cracked all the way down. And it was nighttime by the time they got there. So all of a sudden, about 3 a.m. in the morning, there's all this ruckus outside. My dad jumps up. We all wake up in the cabin. My dad wakes up. He goes to open the door to the cabin, and in fly my grandmother and my mother screaming. There's a noise in the car. So the story comes out. They tell my dad the story. there's this ticking noise. Tick. Every so often. Tick. Tick. And all my grandmother can think is on the way down to Allegheny, a bat had gotten into the car without them knowing it. See, before we all went to bed, you sit around a campfire, you feed the raccoons, and you look up and you see bats flying around. So somehow it got in my grandmother's head. And of course, my mother and my grandmother talked about it in the car real quick and decided they were going to fly open the doors and scream into the cabin. Come to find out, Uncle Jack had an old alarm clock with the bells on it, the wind-up, and it was under the seat of the passenger side. And because he used to, when he traveled, he used to sleep in the car all the time. And every time it hit the 12, it would tick. All they could think of, it was a bat. Unbelievable. Love Allegheny State Park. I've got other stories about Allegheny State Park, I got to tell you. Another cup, right? Actually, I have several cups. I have like 4 cups from Niagara Falls. So if it wasn't so bad, I would have done a coffee cup chronicle from the falls yesterday, but fishing got in the way. Anyway, Allegheny State Park, New York. And coffee's so good this morning. Y'all have a great day. Coffee Cup Chronicle, day 86. Hit it.